So, let's get started. Hey, how's everybody doing? Lighting is a bit odd. Let me get this right. So, yes. Let me give you a little heads up. I'm gonna clear something on the background here. Yes, my computer is super saturated right now, so it's probably gonna run real slow. There we go. So, let me cut a few of the things that are running on the background. And we can get started on this new weird little experiment that we're doing. Just give me a second. I'll be right with you. There we go. Hey, Kawaler. Welcome back. Yes, I'll be streaming in English today because it's part of the experiment. So, lighting is not that good though. Bald spot still shines, and well, that's how being a bald man, that happens when you're bald. So anyway, here's what's gonna happen. As you can see in the scrolling text up there, this is a restream dub. What the hell is just restream dub? I'll be doing the same stream I did back when I started this project, but speaking in English. Because as I promised, the stream was supposed to be in both Spanish and English, depending on who was online. However, most people that came to the stream were Spanish speakers. And right now, of course, it's not going to gather a lot of people that speak English. But anyway, when I save this for posterity, as in upload it to YouTube, it'll be better to be in English because it's a broader audience. You never know. It's broader. So, again, if it's the first time you join us, the royal we. If it's the first time you join me in this stream and you have some doubts about how the whole thing got started, this is the stream that will be great for you. Why? Because I am literally going to play the first stream that I did on the background while I talk and I, speak in English and explain what I did. So, oh, this is weird. Oh, that's cool. So, just get this here. So, what I mean with a restream dub, here's the thing. What you see in the background is actually a frozen frame of the video. Let me see if I can scale it a bit better. There we go. Is it kind of blurry, right? Just give me a second. I'll try to scale it better and then scale it here. Yes, that's a frozen frame of my face. I don't know if that looks better or not. Yeah, that's not important. I can totally clear this here. Yes. So, as you might have noticed, if I delete my face from here, that's actually how I looked when I was streaming this for the first time, when I streamed it in Spanish. So right now I'm going to use this same footage and play it in the back and explain what I did. Okay? So here's what I did. Okay. Since I don't have to be clicking all the time, I can just relax a little bit. And here's the thing, this is the first stream, and what happened in the first stream, I had no idea how the thing was going to be called, so it had a name called Giant Robot Game Dev Stream, right? Because the game is supposed to be a game about a giant robot fighting giant monsters, and there was no Crowdtron name back then, so I just winged it, just like I'm doing it now. And what I'm going to do right now is just let the video play in the background, see if something changes, and explain it a little bit. As some of you might remember, back in the first stream, if you watched the first stream, what I did was, let me give me a little second so I can have the chat visible. No. There. So, as I was saying, So what? The chat, nobody's talking. Cool, better. So there we go. So what I did was explain a little bit what the game was going to be about. What you've been playing on the pre-show is how the game looks today, as in after roughly 10 streams of roughly 2 hours each of development. So it means like it's what, 20 hours? Yeah, roughly 20 hours of development, and you've seen that robot doing its thing. So as this video comes along, I explained why I used Construct 2. Oh, I changed something in the background. Give me a second. The idea is I was going to explain the whole idea of the game in Flash. That's why Flash is open over there. And why I used Construct. Construct 2 specifically, it's a great tool for prototyping and getting things done quite fast. And actually not only prototyping, I'm actually working professionally with Construct 2. I didn't use Construct 3, which is the latest version, because it was not released back then. It was February, I believe, that when I started this, and this video is from then. So I use Construct 2, which I have a license to work with and whatnot. And even though if Construct 3 was released, I wouldn't have used it because it was pretty early beta. It's still kind of a beta right now, so I don't think I'll be using Construct 3 very hard anytime soon. So Construct 2, why? Because it brings results quite fast. And I'm gonna explain how the game is gonna work with this little flash animation and see how that goes. So what did I showed? Let me see. It's funny because I see what the hell I was saying back in the day, and there I am. I'm trying to explain, I'm trying to draw whatever it is that the game is going to be about. And as I said before, it's going to be on this side, you're going to have your robot, right? You're going to have your Crowdtron that had no name back then, right here. And on this side, you're going to have your, what is this? There. You're going to have your kaiju, right? Your giant monster that's going to fight against it. And the idea is, give me a second though. Yeah, that's not what happened right now. That's actually what happened back then. I got a new subscriber. So anyways, if the music is a bit too loud or a bit too soft, do tell so we can arrange those levels. You see, this is me explaining how the whole robot thing is gonna work. So I'm gonna speed it a little bit, right? You can see very early drafts of Crowdtron and how it was gonna look, and that's a kaiju, right? Like a Godzilla thing going on. So gameplay was gonna work like this. You control each limb of the Crowdtron. How do you do that? By typing on the chat, on Twitch's chat, just like you were doing at the beginning of the pre-show. How does that work? Well, I use a little tool that I'll explain on the other restream, on the next restream, that that input that you pick up in the chat, that you write on the chat, gets picked up by my machine and interprets and translates it into a key press, right? So right now what I'm doing in Flash is I'm choosing every limb to explain what I want to do. That is that you control the angle of each limb with a chat. How do you know if you're doing the right thing? Well, let me just move it a bit forward a little bit. Well, I explain a lot. There we go. So the idea is you have these four limbs, no? The two arms and the two legs. And the angle that is needed is on those silhouettes over there. What do I mean by needed? You're gonna have a time limit to pose the Crowdtron as best as you can to make the best attack possible. These poses are mostly randomly generated, so you can get some weird positions for the Crowdtron, and apparently it's funny, so that kind of works. Anyway, as I'm showing there in Flash, I'm probably gonna rotate the arms now. There, I'm changing the anchor point, and that's exactly what you've seen on the pre-show. It's, well, not like this, of course, but this is what's gonna happen. You can rotate the limbs either clockwise or counterclockwise to make the pose. And the closer it is to the, silhouette or the gray hints, the more points your pose will get. The more points your pose gets, the bigger the hit for the Kaiju or the Godzilla, or however you want to call it. So let me just fast forward a little bit. There we go. So I started moving the limbs, and the idea is the more people that are pressing the little prompts on the chat, the weirder it gets, because it will move around, faster. It was back in the day when I thought there would be a lot of people trying to play the game, so it meant one chat prompt, one 5-degree angle variation. And if you see in the later versions, the whole thing moves on its own, and what you actually change is the speed of rotation of the limbs. So it makes it a little bit more interesting, and it makes it a bit more dynamic, because right now, you're gonna see in this few first episodes, it's gonna be like super slow, but hey, it's part of the experiment, right? So as I was saying, it's part of the experiment, and well, this is also part of the experiment, trying to stream in both languages. I'm not streaming in English. So that idea, I hope it's clear, and let's move on to the next part of the video. So, yeah, so you're rotating, blah 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 blah. What else did I say? There we go. So now I open Construct 2. Construct 2 has this, sweet little interface, and I created a new project, right? So you can do the same thing on Construct 3 right now, because you got construct.net, and you can start playing with Construct 3 right now. And it will be, everything I say here can actually work on Construct 3. That's the magic of it. And it works online, contrary to Construct 2 that you have to actually download it. So this is what I did. This is the layout. This is how Construct works. You have on your column right here, you have all the data of your project, because right now you have a layout and an event sheet. Layouts are what you see, and event sheets, it's what you do in the game, if you need a rough translation of what it does. The interesting thing about event sheets or events in Construct is that you don't actually need a lot of know-how when it comes to programming. You can actually use the logic behind programming to make things happen. You have this left column. I'm gonna let the video go through. I don't know what I'm trying to do. First I'm gonna set up the layout, I believe. Yeah, as you can see right here, I'm gonna stop it a little bit here. There we go. So as you can see right here, the layout is, well, as I said, it's what you see in the game. What you see on the dotted line, that the gray dotted line that you have down there, it's what the camera sees, actually. It's what, or at least we can call the camera. Down there, you can see that dotted line. It means that's the actual resolution of the game. You can make a layout that's bigger than that, as in, I don't know, a Mario Brothers level. Because Mario Brothers, like the screen scrolls and whatnot. So, since you need something to scroll, the camera needs to be smaller than the actual layout. So, I believe I changed the number of the size of the layout and the size of the window. Window size, it's the size of the camera, right? So by camera, yeah, I mean the dotted line, so it's okay. So what you see here, here's mouse. Yeah, mouse is working, so give me a second. What you see here, when you click on project properties, you're gonna see those options right now. I can't click it because it's actually a video what I have in here. So let's see if I actually do something about that, or I move on to something else. See, I'm changing the layout size here. I'm using a basic, you know, low H 16:9 resolution, right? And then it changed. So to make it work with the window size, I went to the properties, I believe. Yes, those are the properties. And I scroll down to window size and I put the same number, 960 540. And then I had the same idea. You know, everything fits on a window. You see? No dotted lines. Cool. So what else did I do? I entered the event sheet. Cool. So I probably had to draw something first. Yeah. Let's see. What did I do? Yes. I right clicked and I said add an object, right? So when you right click on construct, you get the options of adding objects. Objects are, well, everything that can make your game work. And then I look for sprite because I'm looking to make an image, a character, and something that has animations and whatever. So sprite, it's like your key, your foundational blocks, if you will, of your game, right? So Mario, you can say that Mario is a sprite. The Goombas are a sprite. Whatever. Those are the thing that I will use the most in Construct 2. So I did exactly that. I created a sprite, right? So once you say I want a sprite, you have to place it in the game field, in the layout, and then you can edit it with a beautiful, beautiful paint-like program that's inside Construct. And because we were just prototyping real fast, I started drawing here. Poorly, but I started drawing anyways. So here's what happened. I'm gonna go a bit faster here. I was trying to do, what was I trying to do? I was doing the face, right? But then I noticed that after making the face, I'm actually gonna need to make the whole body, you know, kind of like the torso. So I had to enlarge the canvas of the game, of the drawing, I mean. Yes. So since the limbs are the only things that are going to be moving, I can make the head and the torso into one whole drawing. And that's exactly what I did. You can see I'm actually fast forwarding slightly, and there we have the first parts of the Crowdtron. Then I started making arms, right? That's the weirdest arm I did. It's like this weird pose. It made no sense. Made sense back then, but right now, it's not that much. So yeah, I started doing that, and there was no, you know, animals defined for the parts just yet. At least on the arms. The legs, it took the same idea that I'm using right now. It's the one that I picked up in here. So yeah, the proportions were odd. So I scaled it down. I did? Yeah, there, I did. So what else? We're prototyping, so it was all good. It was all good and fast. So I did an actual arm that you can tell is an arm because it has a hand that's doing like this. And then I placed it there. So then I renamed it. Yeah, something to, what is it? I'm going backwards. There we go. Sprite. Yeah, I renamed it each part because it's good that your code has the actual names of what you're using. Otherwise, you're gonna get real confused. And it's a bit more, you know, makes more sense when you try to read it afterwards. However, this whole code was made without that in mind because when you see the events, it's a whole mess afterwards. Right now, it's just prototyping, so just let it happen. So I started doing the legs and took opinions and ideas from the chat, and we came up with something weird. We came up with, what is this one? Yes, this one was a platypus. Yeah, so we have an arm of this weird Megazord that we were working on, and we came up with a platypus for one of the limbs. I can't complain. It was actually quite funny, and I just kept the idea until the final version, or at least the first version of the Crowdtron that you saw on the pre-show. So I'm just gonna go faster on here. That's right, if you can notice, it's a head of a platypus. I actually made it smaller, I can't believe that. So it's the head of a platypus and the tail of a platypus that looks like a beaver's tail, and that's the limb, and it worked. What else? I did the other limb, the other leg, and it was actually a toucan. Yes, those birds with the colorful, beaks. Yeah, it was weird, and I drawed it, and it was funny. Just come on, try to make it a bit faster though. As I've said before, if you have any questions of what I did, why I did it, whatever, feel free to ask in the chat. Bring your friends, I don't know, just let's see how that goes. So here I am making the toucan. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. Just skip right here. Oh, no. There we go. Yeah, that was the first ever Crowdtron that wasn't actually named Crowdtron back then. It was just this weird, not Megazord character. Actually gave it colors to a big, I forgot about that. Yeah. So that's the first ever prototype that I had for the Crowdtron, right? So what I did then is save the goddamn project, because I was working totally carefree, and since this is not Flash, I wasn't expecting a crash anytime soon, so I could work to my heart's content without worrying. However, it's important that you save frequently anyways. So I just saved it and I call it, I don't know, what did I call it? I don't know. The project was saved, and I moved on. So, what else did I do? Did I add something else? What did I do? I'm looking over here. Oh, looks like I'm not looking at the screen, but I'm actually looking at the screen with the video. Yeah, I'm talking a bit too much about how the whole process works. Yeah, what did I do? Yeah, we saw this already. No. Oh, no, wait. This is something interesting. See, we now want to make it move. And for that, we need to add a keyboard support for the game. How do we do that? We do the right click again. We just insert a new object and we look for keyboard. That's right, the keyboard, we type keyboard and it's going to be over there. You don't see it visually, as in, you don't see it physically on the layout, contrary to what the sprites do. Sprites do appear because they're part of the game. However, anything that involves input doesn't show up. It just, there's a little prompt up there, construct, that's going to say, hey, you got keyboard support now, but it's not in there, and you can see it in the object types of your project over here, right? Actually, you can see it's over here. It's keyboard. That means that now I can use the keyboard for whatever the hell I want. And what we want is to control the limbs, right? So if I press a key, the limb moves either clockwise or counterclockwise. And that's what we did. Let's see if I can get into the code of that. Show you. Oh my god, I did talk a lot on that one. Yes, we're on the event sheet. Oh, I changed the name of other stuff. But that's the event sheet. As you're gonna see, event sheets have 2 columns. You're gonna see right now how it works. So I'm gonna go a little back over here. I added an event. I touch add event. But I want an event that happens with a keyboard, so I choose keyboard. What I want to happen with the keyboard, I want to do something when I press a key. So I choose the event on key pressed. I select the key. I don't know which one I use for this example. I believe it's Q. Yeah, Q. And when I press Q, I want something to happen. I'm stopping the video right here. This is how the format works on code for construct. It's, you have this on this side, you have a column that's the events, and on the other side you have a column that's the actions. Events calls actions. Something happened, something happened, so the system reacts like this, right? Those are the 2 main columns of how events work, and it's actually quite logical. If you ever programmed, it makes a lot of sense. However, if you're not used to, logical thinking, don't mean to sound like you're doing something wrong, but the idea is it's sometimes hard if you're not used to programming or working with logic. So once you realize it's quite logic that if A happens, then B happens, the code makes a lot of sense. I say code very lightly. There's no actual code in here because you don't really write any big code in Construct 2. And that's a pro and a con. Its pro is because anybody can get into it and try it really fast, and it's quite logical in the way that it shows this happens, then this happens. However, if you're more used to other languages or more abstract languages, it can be a bit complicated, or rather dumb, if you will. But still, I actually personally enjoy it a lot. It's quite easy and it helps a lot. It makes coding, I don't know, cool. Anyway, moving on. So I press Q and I want to add an action to that. So I want to affect a certain object. I can choose what object I want to change or affect. And in this case, I'm doing, I believe it was the left arm. Yes, so I choose left arm, and then it shows me all the options I have. There's a bit on a zoom. Oh, I zoomed in. Sorry. Give me a second. There we go. There, again. Right here, yeah. Right here, you have the options of what actions you can do with the selected object. The object you selected was the left arm, and the left arm you can do a lot of stuff, like this. However, I wanted to change the angle of the current angle of the object, so I chose that. Set angle. Rotate clockwise. Did I do that? I don't really remember. I said rotate clockwise. Cool. And 5 degrees. Why 5 degrees? That's random. It's a small number, so you can notice a difference, but it's not that big that it's going to change. It's going to make a huge change. So, kind of makes sense. I want to move 5 degrees counterclockwise. So I do the same. Instead of Q, I do W, so I can rotate clockwise the same object. Right? And now I either played or, I don't know, or copy pasted for the rest of the limbs. So let's see how that went. Yeah, I did copy paste. Yeah. So I was copy pasting all the things. So it's, I believe this is U and I. E? E no. Y? Y, U? W? Oh my god, I had doubts then. It's Y and U. Y and U moves the right arm, right? So what I did is select the objects. As you can see over there, I actually selected by holding Control. I selected both actions and I made a right click and chose replace object. Instead of making the whole thing again of selecting which object I want to have an action on and choosing that action, I can actually change the object of an already defined action. And what I did was replacing the left arm with the right arm and moving on. Right? This is what I have. I'm probably gonna play now and show it. Yes. What I put, I'm gonna be a bit back. Sorry. There we go. So you can't see it right there. So I'm just on the top of the screen right here where it says view. I'm gonna hide this a little bit. So no, not this one. This one. Yeah. You can see there's a play button. That's how you test your game or how your game is going on in Construct. So it's gonna be used a lot. If you work on Construct, you're gonna use it like all the time. So I pressed play and tested it and see how it went. And it's probably gonna move because I believe that code works. Oh, I'm still in pause. Still in pause. Oh my god. Yeah, there we go. Yes, and you can see it's moving. Yes, fantastic. Moving upwards, downwards, and well, rotating in general. Right. So what else did I do? Oh, I copy pasted for the rest of the limbs, Z and X for the left leg, and what was it? B and N for the B and N for the right leg, and of course it worked. So I believe I was gonna play and see how that went. Yep. Right now there's a little disclaimer here. The first 2 videos I did, I streamed from my Mac laptop that wasn't doing a really good job at streaming. So frames drop like a lot, and by the end of the stream everything was like super laggy. So there's probably gonna be like choppy frames besides the obvious choppy frames from the current connection, and maybe things are not gonna look that smooth. From the 3rd episode onwards, I started streaming with this machine that I'm using right now. It's a PC laptop. Actually it's older than the Mac, but hey, it worked better. What are you gonna do? And also resolution makes more sense because, you know, those black borders that we have on the left and right, it's because the resolution is kind of weird on the Mac, and on the PC makes more sense, 16:9 resolution. So all this time the video has been playing. I don't know what the hell was I saying back then. So I'm gonna see if I can show you all limbs moving. Okay, so I got back to the flash image, probably to show that I'm gonna make the guides now, as in where your character has to end their pose. Oh, this is cool. Wait a minute. Nope, there we go. Hi, Mine Tyler 100. I have no idea who you are, or do we know each other? I don't know. If we do, please state your name. Anyways, hi, are you coding it? Yes, I was coding it. This is actually an old stream that I streamed in February in Spanish. So I'm actually restreaming it in English. What I coded on Construct 2. Construct 2 is a great tool for beginners and professionals alike. And hey, the video's still going. Wait a minute. What I'm doing here is... Give me a second. I believe I booted Steam right now. So, anyways. Minor Tyler. Oh god, what is this? I'm on Google. No, it makes no sense. Wait. Yes, I was coding on Construct. I'm gonna show you a little window of Construct. There we go. I was coding it on Construct, the programming language. Like C++ or Python. It's neither. It's actually HTML5. It exports in HTML5. And what I use is this event sheet for Construct 2. It does, I don't know, it's not an actual language. It's like, it interprets HTML5 if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, does that answer your question? And if not, please elaborate on your question and see if we can solve it. So as I was saying, yes, it was Construct 2 and working on the event sheet of Construct 2, and it exports on HTML5. So as I was saying, after that, let me move this a little bit out of the way. This is when I did the whole limb moving thing. This was a preview. Hey, maybe we can see all the limbs moving. Come on. Come on. We have the arms, we have the legs. Yes. So yeah, it worked. Anyways, what I was going to show you is yeah, I was going to do the guides. I was still explaining how it all works because I ended on this website. This website I explain a little bit more on the second episode. Let it load, and then I'm gonna answer your questions. Minor Tyler, give me a second. This is running a bit slow. There we go. So that website over there helped. It has helped me a lot from the second episode onwards, because it lets me take whatever you write on the chat and consider it, you know, a key press, and then do something about it. Let me read your questions now, Minor Tyler. I know JavaScript. I used to know basic Kia, and I'm working on learning C++. Lua, oh my god, Otogor Kia. You're learning a car brand. Though, maybe that's cool. You can learn to make cars. Who knows? I believe I've heard Lua is very good and very fast to learn. I use that website to undertake Twitch plays. Oh, that's awesome! Did it actually work? Did people, you know, killed anybody? I don't know. It was cool. That's cool. This is a great website for this kind of thing, and it's definitely super clear, because you know, you just copy paste whatever's going on, and it doesn't take too much reasoning as to how it works. And C++, I believe you can use it for Unity. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know it's C#, but I think C++ also works with Unity, and since Unity is like this, you know, the belle of the ball right now, maybe you can, I don't know, use it too if you're interested. Yeah, it worked. Running for a while. Nice, nice. Yeah, I've been trying to make like a game based on. I gotta go. Sorry. It's okay, Minor Tyler. Thank you for stopping by. And I've been trying to make a game with Twitch plays for quite some time. So this is all the process of how I did it. Please come again whenever you want, right? In the meantime, I'll continue explaining the process that I did in these first few streams. So, as I was saying, on the second stream, I'm gonna get things for stopping by. There we go. What I used this website for implementing the capacity to stream and take chat prompts to use it on the stream. As you know, Minor Tyler said, he used it for his own Undertale Twitch plays stream, and that's awesome, right? You can do it with anything, and of course this began with Twitch plays Pokemon. It was like the big deal back then. That's why everybody's like super hyped about it. I personally enjoyed it a lot, and that's why I'm actually making this weird little project, because I think there's something that hasn't been explored yet in this Twitch Plays thing. So yeah, we're gonna read about this in the I used about the mirror thing. We're gonna talk about this on the other stream. You know, the next stream about the next restream dub. Yeah, I'm not gonna use yet about that terminology. So, anyways, I'm gonna skip this a little bit, and we're back at our good old Crowdtron. So I'm starting to make the guides here. I made a new sprite and actually made a second layer, right? I'm gonna stop the video right here. We see here our layers, just like Photoshop, just like Flash, just like whatever it is you've been using for making drawings and illustrations and whatever. I don't know. I think Unity has layers too. So as you can see, there's a tab right down here. The tab we were using commonly was this one, the project one. It shows all the objects on our project and whatnot. However, if we go to the layers tab, we can see the different layers of the game. And well, actually not the game, layers of the layout. And most of the time this works if you need like a rough idea of what kind of layers you can use. You can use this for parallaxing or HUD. Because if you have a game that the camera moves around, your HUD, I mean like the score, your health bar, whatever, needs to stay put on the top without moving around, right? So your character moves around, but the scoreboard stays the same. That was really weird. It's gonna be awesome, man. And so if you put the parallax on 0, you put it on another layer, and you put it on parallax 0, you're good to go. Parallax is right over here, 100, 100. It means it's gonna move around with the camera. However, it works to keep things in order too. Because you can have a background, you can have a foreground, you can have visual effects, whatever. You can separate it in layers and work more comfortably. It's late for me too, and actually English is not my first language, so things can go wrong sometimes. Anyways, I split it into robot and guides. Robot, as the name suggests, are the parts of the Crowdtron, and the guides are the guides where the player must try to fit the angle of the limbs. So I did my first guide, which is this weird little stick right here. I was fiddling around with the background of the layers with that. So yeah, I named each one based on the limb they're supposed to be guiding. In this case, this is going to be for the left arm. Copy paste it for all 4 limbs, and we have each different guide. This wasn't the best way to do it, but is a good way to make it clear. Instead of actually making a single object and adding a property that defines which limb it's helping, I just did 4 different objects that look exactly the same. That's gonna make more sense afterwards when we start using colored coded guides. This is not the case because we have no colors right now. So let's see. I'm gonna skip this a little bit. Nope. There we go. So we have the 4 guides for the 4 limbs, and whoop, I stopped the video right here. If you see this first line of code right here, on start of layout is an event that, as the name suggests, whenever the layout starts, it's gonna execute the actions that are there. How do we make a new action? Like we've seen before. We go to event sheet, we make a right click and we add an event. Or we scroll all the way down and create a new event. Or we press E. By pressing E, we make a new event. What event do we have to do? An event based on system. That's the little gear over here. give me a second, because there we go. This is the part where I explain that. Gonna go slowly on the way back. There we go. So, oh my God. There. Back. There we go. So, add event system. That way I can make sure it's about the system and not a specific object. And you can do on start of layout. There we go. So, when the layout starts, you do stuff. Just like we said. I dragged it all the way up because it's logically it should go first because it's the first thing it does when the layout loads. So it's better to put it on the top because I don't know, it makes more sense. It's a little bit of order in this whole event chaos that's gonna happen later. So I add an action. And the action is going to be on the guides. This is going to be on the first guide, the left arm guide, guide LA, that's over there. So what I did was, I'm explaining apparently, and then, I'm stopping the video, because I chose a new action that is set the angle. I want the angle to be random, right? Because the idea is that the guide is any place around the clock. So the player has to move it around to be as close as possible to the guide. And what makes it interesting is if the guide is totally random, you can get weird poses. So it's cool to have a weird random guide. So here's what I write to make that random angle. And I'm going to explain it. I'm going to let it write and then I'm going to explain it. That's it. So these are functions, you know, those names with parentheses and variables, you know, on parameters actually. So what it says here, there we go. What it says here is, let me use the mouse. I want a random number between 1 and 360 that is degrees, you know, from 1 degree to 360, that's the whole circle. But since the random function gives any number from 1 to 360, that is to say it can give me a 1.2, it can give me a 55.65, 75, whatever, it can give me pi, whatever. I want an actual round number without decimal points. That's why I go round. So random needs two parameters. That is to say the first and the second limit of their randomness. 1 and 360 works like a charm. Round needs one parameter. That is the number you want to round. And since random can give me any kind of irrational number, I just want to round that up. I'm going to cut the decimal point and give it a round number. Why? It's like, it's because I wanted to. What are you going to do? So, it makes it easier to, you know, then make calculations with rounder numbers than with, you know, complicated decimal numbers. So, that's the event. That's the action, I mean. And yeah, that's when I was explaining what I just explained on the old video. So, I don't know if I'm playing right now. Yeah, so I'm running the layout. And see if it's randomly placed on a new angle. And yes, it was. You see that angle has nothing to do with the angle it was placed on the layout. So it's working. And now I did it for all 4 limbs, 4 guides. And you can see they are randomly placed. I'm skipping in the video, as you can tell. See, I'm gonna show you here. Let's see. Wow, this is the time when the video is playing, right? No, it's not. Is it? See, this is when the video starts to crash. You know, the recorded video is like slowing down because I was said before, streaming wasn't very good in the first episodes. So, let's see. Oh, I believe it crashed. Did it? Oh, yep. I believe the video crashed. So, let me get back to you in a minute. Give me a second. Oh yes, we have a crash. Cool. Yeah, so I'm gonna open the video again. With BS player. Yeah, but this is not what I want to show you. Just give me a second. There we go. And we were way over here in the video. Something over here. Oh yes, we were advanced. And all limbs. Yeah. See, as I told you, we're back on this, and the whole thing I just copy pasted and changed the object with the other guides, and that was it. I could have different angles for the guides, and it looked okay. See? Yeah, and it worked okay. So what I did afterwards, what did I do afterwards? I tried to make a counter, I believe. I tried to make like this timeline, or I mean a timer that's gonna give you a certain time to do the pose. I believe it wasn't implemented in this video, but I still did it. It was like this weird happy face. Yeah, I believe it was that. So, just move forward. Yeah, it was this little odd happy face. What the hell was I doing? Oh, this is cool. So, this is a happy face that was supposed to be I was supposed to be using as a timer, right? I drew a happy face, and then I thought it was, hey, it's gonna be a cool bar. I don't know why. Back then, everything was easier. So, I changed the origin to the top instead of the middle, so I can do exactly that. So I can stretch it over, and it will change its width as time goes by, right? So like a health bar, if you will. So, what the hell was I trying to do now? I don't know. What did I do? Oh, here's the thing. That's when I realized I'm gonna need a new object. And my personal experience has told me that I always use an auxiliary object, an auxiliary sprite actually, that's gonna hold a lot of variables and information that I need for the specific layout. Does it work? It does. Can it be done any better? Of course. Does it work for me? A lot. Maybe it can work for you too. So I created this auxiliary object where I'm gonna keep track of a lot of stuff. Most of it was time, as in time, elapsed time or time left or whatever, and giving them the timer behavior that we're gonna see afterwards. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna move on. Probably explaining the same thing in the video right now because it's been running all the way. Yeah, that's the auxiliary object, aux. I always call it aux. Right now it's sprite 2 because I forgot to rename it, so you can see it over there. It's called sprite 2. But I was hovering on instance variable apparently, because as I was saying, you can have variables in construct, of course, but you can either have a global, local, or instance variables. If you have a single instance of this auxiliary object, you can place a lot of variables and stuff that you need to, help you out in the game. So this is what I did. I created instance variables to keep track of different things. In this case, HP, well, whatever, I call it HP because it's supposed to be health. And do I give it an initial value? Yeah, probably. I don't know. Player HP. What the hell? Oh, this is me making variables for the whole thing. Yeah, player time. Yeah, good thing I changed it. So this is gonna be the time. Oh, that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be interesting in a while. Give me a second. So I created a variable called player time. As I was saying, it's gonna keep track of how long does the player have to keep posing. But how do I keep track of time? I can do it manually, or I can use a behavior. What are behaviors? I'm gonna go on the back. Behaviors are here. Every object has, mostly sprites have the possibility of behaviors. Behaviors are like this whole templates of code all wrapped up on a single thing, a behavior. Timer, as the name would suggest, is a behavior that tracks time and not much else. But it's quite useful because you can keep track of a lot of things with one single timer. With one single object with a timer behavior, actually. What do I mean by that? Let's see how I solved it here. I probably know what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to wait. See, on the start of layout, I'm probably going to start a timer, right? So I go to the object that has the timer. What am I doing? First, I'm setting up the width of the little face. So it looks like it has the same width of the variable player time. So if the player time variable changes, that width can change accordingly. Yeah, I had to put in height because I stretch it and spin it. Instead of width, it's going to be the height because the face, while looking forward, is stretched this way. However, I rotated it, so it's the height but rotated in 90 degrees. So, as I was saying, the height is going to be 20 times the value of player time. Why do I do that? Again, I used height because I spun it, 90 degrees. I used 20 times because it's a lot wider than 100. The whole screen is a lot wider than 100 pixels. And as I wrote that, if you write the name of an object in construct in those, text boxes, and you press and you type in a period, all the variables and all the properties are going to pop up. Between those properties are the instance variables that you wrote, and in this case, my value of player time. So on start of layout, if everything works out, the height of the little face is going to be 20 times the value of player time, which is an instance variable of sprite2, which is actually the name of my auxiliary object. So if everything makes sense, if it's 100, if player time is 100 at the start, this is going to be 2000, pixels wide. I probably change that number in the future. Let's see. Am I gonna play? Yes, I did. It's gonna be quite long. Yeah, I didn't think it through. It's stupid long. So instead of 20, I probably used a more coherent number. Considering that the width of the window is 960, I'm probably gonna use a smaller. There we go. Right, 8,000. It's still gonna be a lot. It's gonna go through the border. Yeah, it still does. So I changed it. I always change it. That's what's interesting about streaming, is that you go, trial and error quite a lot. You can learn a lot from that. Yeah, that one's probably gonna work because it's like 800. Yup, 800. There we go. So now I'm gonna start the timer, as I was saying. I'm renaming auxiliary. Yeah, there we go. Auxiliary status. And now, auxiliary status, I'm gonna start the timer. Right? I look for the timer actions. Yes, and you can see right here, when you set a timer behavior and you let it be one of the actions you can do with it, you can choose start timer. So timers have values such as duration, as in how long it's going to last, how it's going to be played, either once or cyclical, recurrent, and a tag. By tag, it identifies a specific timer of that behavior. That means that with one behavior I can have infinite timers as long as I have different tags. So that's exactly what I probably did. So every second on a regular basis, or wow, 0.8, 0.1, okay, 0.1 on a regular basis on a timer without tag, because it's without tag. So now put a little tag in there, man. Player, there we go. So whenever that timer is done, you're gonna do different actions. And that's why I'm opening a new event. I look for the auxiliary status. I look for this. The frame skipping is part of the video. Sorry about that. So I look for the auxiliary status object, and I choose an event related to timers that it says on timer over or timer end or something along those lines. The system's gonna ask me, what timer are you talking about? That's why it prompted me to write the tag, and I'm gonna type down player. So when the timer, that's the event we see down there, on timer player time, when it reaches its end, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna go to auxiliary status, change the variable player time, and subtract 1. That's probably what I'm gonna do. You see, when the options regarding instance variables appear, I can choose subtract from. Exactly. So by default, it picks the only instance variable that it has, which is player time, and by default it has 1 for subtraction. So hey, it works. It's just straightforward. However, I need to update the width of the bar. So again, 8 times auxiliary status dot player time. That way you can see the bar going downwards. Let's see if I can manage to test it afterwards. Yes, it should work right now. See how that goes. It's working, it's just laggy, okay? Trust me, it was fluid when I actually saw it. This is a problem with the actual video, not the stream. So it worked, cool. So what else did I do? Oh, now I did a wait. And I go a bit to the back. So I'm going to do something when the timer is over, right? So for that, every time the timer ends, I could also ask, the timer as in a second has passed, or 0.1 second has passed. I asked, well, is player time over, as in less or equal to 0. I create a sub event. That's why it's like nested in there. What the heck is a sub event? If the first event happens, then it asks whatever's nested afterwards. And that's why I'm interested in doing it then, not all the time or on another specific time. Only when the timer is marked. So it's a sub event. And what I ask is player time equal or less than 0? Why less or equal? I'm going to give you an idea over here. This case is not going to be a problem because I'm actually subtracting one by one. However, if you have a game that for some reason subtracts from a variable a fraction, a decimal number, whatever, you might end up with a different number than 0. You might end up with a player time of minus 0.3, right? That's why if you ask if player time is equal to 0, it could only work if it's actually 0. However, it will not stop, or it will do nothing if that number reaches minus 0.3, because it skipped from, 1.2 to minus 0.3. It never stopped on 0, so the question is invalid. That's why I actually should suggest a lot of this in my classes to go for less or equal, right? Because it just works and it saves you a lot of headaches. And that's probably what I did. Right. So if I want it to be 0, something horrible is going to happen right now because time is over, blah 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 blah. Right? I don't know what I did on this one. Hey, it's been like months ago, so I'm not that good at remembering that sort of stuff. So let's see what happened. This is me probably explaining the less than thing. I'm going a bit forward, see where that goes. Oh, wait. Oh, this is to avoid. I know why I did this. Oh, hello. There we go. So this is what I did. There we go. As the code suggests, if you have a bar, like a health bar or something, let's see, this is the border of the bar, this is the left border. So if I start losing health, let's just say it goes like this, blah 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 blah. However, if it's less than 0, it's gonna start growing on the other end, and I don't want that. This wasn't very useful to explain. So if you have this bar whose length depends on a variable, if that variable becomes negative, the width also becomes negative. That means it's going to grow backwards. I don't want that. So if for any reason the player timer becomes less than 0 or 0, I'm going to force it. I'm going to force the width, or in this case the height of my bar, to stay on 0. Otherwise I could make it grow backwards, and I don't want that. And that's exactly what this code is saying. So there we go. What else did I do? Oh, I'm stopping the timer, yeah. So when it's over, I just stop the timer, right? Stop the timer, stop counting. Everything's over, don't worry about it, blah. So if everything's okay, I could run the game. The bar will deplete, and once it's depleted, the bar stops, well, moving, actually. You can still move the character around because there's no restrictions I placed in there. So you can see it's going backwards, 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 and then eventually it's going to stop. And there we go. It stopped. It stopped growing in either direction. So we got that. What else did we do? What else did we do? I'm doing a review of everything. What is this? Oh, I got it. So I did something quick to tell if the player was getting close to the value of the guide. What do I mean by that? I need a quick way to give the player feedback that it was getting near the guide. Why? Because of this. Check this out. Give me a second. Let's see if I can find a frame that's a bit revealing. Now, there we go. So the problem here is what I want to do is compare angles now to see what value the the attack or defense of the character is going to be. So I need to compare the guide with the limb. However, I draw the limbs as you can see here. That's a problem because by default angles work horizontally on the 0 degree. However, if the guide I did it vertically, as in this is the angles. Those are the angles. These are the angles, vertical. And I'm comparing it with something that looks like 45 degrees. That's not gonna be cool. I can either redraw, which it was not on the plan, or I can just, screw it. Give the player some feedback that it's getting closer somehow, and then compensate with an offset. That's what I did, and we're gonna see first what I did when it comes to measuring how close the player was to the correct angle. So here's what's gonna happen. Let's see. Yeah, you see that one? That's the actual guide. This vertical line right here. Because as you saw, the arm is this angle and this is this angle, so there's a difference of roughly 45 degrees in difference. So what else? Yeah, this is me measuring the offset. So what happened here? So this is me trying to change the oh god, frame rate was going to hell in here. Probably gonna explain it better on the other video. Okay, I'm gonna cross my fingers here and hope this is understandable right now. So when Q is pressed, I rotate the arm 5 degrees counterclockwise. This is a good time, since there was change, to check if it's closer to the guide. So I do. And how do I give feedback to the player of that? Right now on this prototype, I was doing it with the height of the guide. I believe it was the shorter the guide was, the closer you were supposed to be to the correct angle. So as you can see here, what I did was give it a constant value of 10. So worst case scenario is going to measure 10 plus the absolute value of the difference between the left arm's angle and the self angle. Self angle means the guide's angle. Why? Because of this. Parameters for guide LA, right? So I'm talking about the guide on the left arm. So whenever I write self, it means that I'm talking about the guide itself. So I'm comparing the values of the left arm and the self, the guide, and it can either be positive or negative. That's why I'm using abs, absolute value, right? Mathematically, an absolute value disregards the sign of the value. Of the value. Because if you have 2, absolute value 2, minus 3, absolute value 3, disregards the sign. And that's what I want it to happen, because I want the scale of the guide to always be positive. So I don't care if it's on one way or the other, if the difference in the angles is either positive or negative. I just care about the actual difference, and that's it. Let's see what I did afterwards. It was awfully laggy right now. Yeah, I was explaining that same thing I explained to you. And oh man, the screen got really stuck. This almost not faded thing still happened, and I was streaming. My face moved, but this was awful. Abs. I'm explaining there what abs does. Trying to move it a bit forward. This is me testing the idea. Yes. So you can see that the more I move the arm, the guide starts changing its length, right? The farther I go, the bigger it gets. The closer I go, the smaller it gets. That was part of the idea. However, I think I'm not gonna stop too much on this because I change it afterwards like real fast. I'm gonna move along and see if I can find anything. Right. These are the offsets, the 45 degrees. Because in one case it made sense, on the other cases not so much. So I try to study the different offsets for each limb. It worked kind of iffy, but it worked for a quick prototype. Remember, this was done in like 2 hours, and it worked pretty well. See, in some cases it works, in others not so much. Let's see. This is me testing again the different offsets and stuff. So I'm probably gonna stop the stream in a few minutes because there was nothing else done in this first episode. It was me still trying to make it work with the different length of the guides. And yeah, it worked kind of iffy, but still worked. So cool. Yeah, so that was it. Yeah, that was it. I'm gonna let the video play in the background. So hey, this is what I first did on the first 2 hours of my little experiment, right? Of trying a few things out with the making a Twitch Plays game with robots, and it's been working really nice lately. And as I said before, I promised it was gonna be on both languages. Since most people that stopped by spoke Spanish, I did the first episodes all the way through in Spanish. But I didn't want to miss the opportunity to both include people that speak in English and practice my English, so it works both ways. In the next video, it's probably going to be next Friday, I'm talking about what we did with the implementation of the Twitch Plays part, right? What programs you need, what you need to have running to take what's on the chat and interpret it as a key press, and then work around that. So as you can tell with the video, the limbs work with Q, W, Z, X, Y, U, and BN. Those were the limbs, clockwise and counterclockwise. It's been ever since, and it's been working really good. And with time, I've been polishing the idea of how it's gonna move. If it's gonna move a little bit, if it's gonna change speed or whatever, and it's really cool. You can see the video over there. You can see a link over there that has been, scrolling around. If you go to bit.do/Crowdtron YouTube, you can find the YouTube channel where I upload all the videos of the development. Right now there are roughly 10 videos with 10 different iterations of this. This is a restream of the first video. The others are in Spanish, so if you want to practice your Spanish, go ahead and watch them. And if you don't, you can just mute them and see what I did and make sense of it as best as you can. So right now, this is what I did on the first go. What the hell am I doing? This was me trying weird stuff, so I'm gonna stop the video over there. Cool. So on the next week, I'm gonna during next week I'm gonna upload this video in English. So if you missed it, you can watch it, and you can get ready for the next video. You can still try and play with Crowdtron as we did on the pre-show. I'm gonna try to do it more frequently because I've been doing it a bit on and off, depending whenever I have the computer available. So otherwise, I should be working on it. So hey, it's been cool. We'll see you on the next one. And I'm Rod. You can follow me on Twitter at Rod_F, and you can follow on Facebook, facebook.com/Crowdtron. You can get all the news about this, mostly in Spanish right now, because again, the stream was in Spanish at first, and right now it's gonna be, I'm gonna try to do all the episodes in English because the game has been, it makes sense right now. It's not like it's shippable, but it still makes sense, and I believe it's interesting that you can also, if you don't know any Spanish but you know English, you can learn a little bit about this. So thanks again for stopping by and watching and whatever, and see you on the next one. Bye.